Greetings, people. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Judith Constantine from Mohas, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where I facilitate pharmacognosy-related subjects. And this is part 1 of plant ergastic substances. Please follow along. We are going to cover the introduction to ergastic substances, their categories, microscopic identification of some of these ergastic substances, the importance of ergastic substances to plants and to us, the medicinal use of some of these substances, and the toxic effects of some ergastic substances. And this is just a summary. There are a lot of issues around ergastic substance, so please feel free to drop a comment at any moment or ask a question or provide a relevant reference material. We will appreciate that. Now, ergastic substances are non-living. So whenever you hear the term ergastic, what should come to your mind is non-living. They are non-living organic and inorganic materials found in plant cells that result from metabolism, serving as reserve foods, secretory products, or excretory waste. And we are going to categorize these into 3: reserve foods, secretory products, or excretory waste. In pharmacognosy, the study of their shape, meaning the shape of ergastic substances, the chemical nature, is crucial for identifying and evaluating these crude drugs. So ergastic substances include various components like carbohydrates, protein, fixed oils and fats, alkaloids, purines, glycosides, volatile oils, gums, mucilages, resins, tannins, calcium oxide, calcium carbonate. So in this, we are going to cover a few. We are going to cover carbohydrates, protein, fixed oils, alkaloids, calcium oxide crystals, calcium carbonate crystals, and a bit more of tannins. So please take some time to go through other components. But as we move, we shall be providing a lot of tutorials on these other substances. So some of these ergastic substances are important in plant life, while others are absolutely byproducts. So being non-living, like I said earlier, they are being referred as ergastic. Here are the categories like we described them earlier. We are going to see them more as we move forward, but we have reserve materials, and here they include carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and oils. We have secretory materials, which include enzymes, nectar, pigments. We have excretory materials, which include alkaloids, tannins. And in this, we are going to cover the alkaloids and some other components. So, on reserve materials, these are stored food matters, and they are stored for energy or nutrition, and other often are found in seeds, roots, and tubers. We all know the role of food materials in human body. The same applies to plants. So like I said earlier, they include carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and oils. And carbohydrates is abundantly or mostly available in the form of starch. So starch is the common reserve carbohydrate. It occurs as characteristic starch grains. We are going to see these starch grains as we move. Starch grains, we will talk much about starch grains. And they occur in potato, wheat, rice. This is well known. Other carbohydrates include inulin, glycogen, hemicellulose, pectin, gums, and mucilage. I won't cover much of this. We shall focus more on starch grains. And if you are interested or you have something exciting about these other carbohydrates, please drop the comment, give the references for other people to follow. So carbohydrates are further classified into mono, di, oligosaccharides, depending on the number of sugar units. But in this, Since we are discussing starch grains, they will be discussed under polysaccharides with more than 10 sugar units. Starch grains are common insoluble carbohydrates, and they are most important reserve food of plants. This is the readily available form of carbohydrates in plants. So without starch, plants will not be able to store glucose. So starch occurs in granules of varying size in almost all organs of plants, and it is found most abundantly in roots, rhizomes, fruits, and seeds, where it usually occurs in larger grains than to be found in chlorophyll-containing tissues. Chlorophyll-containing tissues are like those young stems and mostly leaves, so they occur in larger. Each starch grain contains a center known as a hilum. We are going to see how we can use a hilum to differentiate various types of starch from different from different sources. So carbohydrates are deposited around the hilum. Microscopic identification of the hilum's shape, like if it is centric or eccentric, and grain structures helps in identifying different plant sources, crucial in pharmacognosy and food science. We are going to see what eccentric and centric mean when it comes to this hilum. For example, starch hilum of potatoes is typically eccentric. We will observe this in the images to see. Means the layers of starch are arranged towards one side. They are not in spherical form. They are arranged toward one side, following where the hilum is. So these are the three types of starch, but most commonly we have centric and eccentric. But the compound and semi-compound may be part of these part of these two types of starch grains combined together. We are going to see as we move. So centric, the layers are deposited symmetrically around a central hilum. For example, starch grains in rice, starch grains in peas, starch grains in maize. Eccentric, the layers are deposited unevenly off-center when the hilum pushed to one side, for example, in potato starch. But for compound or semi-compound, these are multiple simple grains, be it centric or eccentric, they are clustered together, sometimes with shared layers. And this is exactly what I was referring to. You see this? This is an eccentric. Here is our hilum. For example, in starch grains. These are centric hilum. They are centric starch grains, but they are compound. These are centric, but they are compound. So now you understand when I say that there are two main types, the centric and the eccentric. This being compound may be centric or eccentric, but they occur in multiples. And these are just, for example, here in A, we have a simple eccentric starch in potato. And here we have eccentric type of starch, but they are compound. They occur together. And here we have a concentric or eccentric starch of wheat. And here we have eccentric starch of maize. So those are the grains. So this is what these are just line drawings, but this is what we expect to see under the microscope. So for self-study and maybe discussions in the comment section, please feel free to go through the inulin, the glycogen, the hemicellulose, and this is really amazing when viewed under the microscope, including the gums. So when we talk of proteins, these are composed of amino acids. We all know from the biochemistry point of view that are linked by peptide bonds. The stored protein may be in the form of iluron grains, or they may be amorphous or crystalline. So iluron grains, we are going to see much more interesting about iluron grains, and we shall see as we move. So iluron grains are particularly well seen in oily seeds, example castor seed and linseed. Amorphous protein is found in iluron layer, that is the outermost protein layer of the endosperm. And the simplest iluron grain consists of a mass of proteins surrounded by a thin membrane. This is a simplest grain, which means it is just a mass of protein within the iluron grain. It does not have crystalloids. It does not have globoids. We are going to see what globoids and crystalloids mean in the iluron grain. It's just a mass of protein, a protein matrix, also known as the ground mass. Often, however, the ground mass of protein encloses one or more rounded bodies called globoids and an angular body known as the crystalloid. We shall see as we move. Iluron grains are membrane-bound protein storage bodies. Protein storage bodies in seeds containing 3 parts. So the iluron grains has a protein-rich matrix, has a crystalloid, and it has globoids. We shall see in part 2 of these plant ergastic substances. So these components store essential nutrients such as amino acids, phosphorus, minerals for the germinating seedling, with globoid holding minerals. See the role of globoids, they hold minerals, and crystalloids storing specific proteins like edestin. All are encased in the iluron grain membrane. So we shall see the cases where we find iluron grains with globoids and crystalloids, and the cases when we do not have these altogether. So, iluron grains typically contain both globoid and crystalloid, although this can vary by plant species. For example, iluron grains in castor bean, rice, and barley seeds contain these 3 distinct. They have the globoid, they have the crystalloid, and they have the protein body, the ground matrix. However, in some species such as beans, lentils, and iluron grains appear as amorphous mass without distinct globoids and crystalloids. So we shall see more of these as we move in part 2. So this is what I meant when I said about iluron grains. These are plant cells. We have these protein bodies. This is an iluron grain. Inside the iluron grain, we find a globoid and a crystalloid. This is not always the case. For some species, it is just a ground mass, a protein body, without these iluron grains, without this a globoid. So, welcome. Please remember to subscribe, to share, comment, and please don't miss part 2 of plant ergastic substances, where we are going to complete the discussion on proteins, and we are going to move forward to other secretory materials and excretory materials. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.